Will Antonio Zeppeli is one of our main side characters in JoJo's Part 1, Phantom Blood. He aids Jonathan in his quest to defeat Dio by teaching him the ancient fighting style known as the Ripple. His last name Zeppeli is a reference to the band Led Zeppelin. Zeppeli adorns a handlebar mustache that Araki said was inspired by the artist Salvador Dali. It was quite rare for good characters manga to have mustaches back in the 80s, as people saw them as untrustworthy. Despite this stigma, Zeppeli is a morally good character through and through, mustaches and all. But the thing that stands out the most in his design has to be his hat, but it didn't always look like this. The classic checkerboarded top hat that Will Zeppeli is known for wasn't actually part of his design at all in the beginning. When Will first appears in the manga, the hat has rainbow diagonal stripes with some gold accents at the base. Then a couple of chapters later, it's changed to the classic checkerboarded one that we all know and love. I think this change was for the best, as the checkerboard suits him much better, and would go on to be an absolute staple of his design, and somewhat a symbol for the entire Zeppeli family. In Will Zeppeli's modern design, Araki interestingly decided to give him a cane with a steel ball on it. This is a nice nod to Steel Ball Run because the steel ball has also become somewhat of a symbol for the entire Zeppeli family after the creation of Gyro Zeppeli. Will Zeppeli was born on January 19, 1838. When he was 18 years old, he traveled around the world as part of his father's team of archaeologists. Their travels led them to Aztec ruins where the stone mask lay dormant. But curiosity prevailed and they unearthed the stone mask. They brought it back with them in their ship. However, one fateful night, curiosity once again prevailed overall as a member of the crew donned the mask and murdered 38 crew members. Will Zeppeli, not looking to be one of them, dove into the sea, but the monster chased him. Zeppeli was just barely saved by the power of the sun, and as the vampire disintegrated into the light, Zeppeli realized that what was now the monster was once his father. This life-changing event quite understandably made Will Zeppeli harbor a lot of resentment towards the stone mask, and he made it his sole life goal to rid the world of the mask's evils. When Zeppeli was 20 years old, he traveled to India, and there he met a very strange doctor. He looked young and had no tools, and yet he was able to take a leg overcome with gangrene and heal it good as new. The doctor used what he called light from within. Zeppeli was eager to learn this healing method too, as it may be able to topple the evil of the stone mask. So he traveled to Tibet to meet Master Tom Petty. There he vigorously trained under Tom Petty for several years. Will Zeppeli eventually becomes a master of the Ripple and now travels around the world, attempting to vanquish the evils of the stone mask. And his travels is what eventually leads to him meeting the most important person in his very bizarre life. When Jonathan first meets Will Zeppeli, he doesn't exactly trust him, which makes sense. Not only because of the previously mentioned mustache, but also because without any warning, Zeppeli shoves his pinky into Jonathan's diaphragm. It may have looked like Zeppeli was attempting to harm Jonathan, but what he actually did was correct his breathing so he could start generating the ripple. When you boil it down to the basic components, this is truly who Will Antonio Zeppeli is, a mentor and teacher for Jonathan Joestar so he can learn the ripple. Araki said he was based off of the unusual teachers in media like the teachers in Jackie Chan movies, who are always drunkards, but also like Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid. When I read this, the resemblance to these inspirations became uncanny. It was a great decision to insert a character like this into JoJo, as personally I think the martial arts master who just makes the students wash his car fits right into the category of bizarre. Will Zeppeli's relationship with Speedwagon is not one that appears out of thin air. It's one that grows over time. We never get to truly see the first time the two meet, but shortly after they do, they're sort of distant from the other. Not really seeing each other, but just existing with them. But as the story goes on, we see that start to change. Will tries to do the diaphragm thingy to Speedwagon to get him to generate the ripple. Speedwagon unfreezes his arm with his weird hot abs thing, which is something I'll get to another time. And the most important thing, after Will Zeppeli's death, Speedwagon is devastated. But to honor Will Zeppeli, he continues his legacy by wearing his hat, truly symbolizing how close their friendship really had become. Also, I ship. Zeppeli's death is very commonly considered one of the worst deaths in JoJo, and while I would love absolutely nothing more than to debunk this and explain to you why this death is absolutely masterfully written, that's sadly not the case. The death is foreshadowed exhaustively. Actually, no, it's not foreshadowed. It's directly stated to our face several times that he's going to die.
The day will come when this will be the death of you.
If I must die to end this quest, so be it. Is tonight the night that I go to my grave?
I've always been confused as to the reasoning of all this foreshadowing. Is it supposed to make us dread it? But at this point, we have only known Zeppeli for 4 episodes, and at least for me, that is absolutely not enough time to get me emotionally invested into a character that much. The foreshadowing definitely isn't supposed to surprise us. It's not like he even dies in a surprising way. Araki just tells us he's going to die, and then an episode later, he dies. Zeppeli is split in half by a chain from Tarkus. However, after Zeppeli is split in half, he is still alive long enough to give Jonathan the rest of his ripple, watch Jonathan defeat Targus, and then say some stuff at the end before he finally kicks the bucket. This is one of my biggest problems with Phantom Blood as a whole, the deaths. There are so many deaths in the part where the dying characters lay in Jonathan's arms as they say their final words, giving Jonathan their last bit of motivation. This is an aspect of storytelling that would later become one of JoJo's biggest strengths, but for now it's honestly one of its greatest weaknesses.
Congratulations!
Since you watched all the way to the end, here's a fun fact about Will Zeppeli for you. In the original publication of Phantom Blood, Will Zeppeli tells Jonathan that he has no children, but this is directly retconned by the existence of Mario Zeppeli and later Caesar Zeppeli. When the mistake was caught and brought to Araki's attention, Araki submitted a formal apology and changed the dialogue for all future publications. Anyways, that's all I gotta say about Will Antonio Zeppeli. So yeah, see ya!